right there.
Oh, so this is just for the,
Just for people on set.
sorry. So I'm here to talk about CBD and hemp. Give you a little background about the company. It used to be a livestock farm in Martinsville, Virginia.
You got the
raising
lapel.
Asian,
You got the lapel, so I don't need to hold that one. The lapel's good. Thanks.
raising Asian water buffalo. And it was a lot of fun. We spent about 9 years creating this exotic meat market, and then in 2019, a friend told me that hemp was now legal. It's actually considered beef, and I told it turns out it was this thing called CBD hemp, and started researching all the health benefits, potential health benefits that CBD could bring individuals. And so we decided to grow a small crop, about a quarter acre. We took out of one of our paddocks and we grew 420 plants over the grow season in 2019, harvested them, and it was an amazing experience in itself. And then it turns out that Christmas Eve, my daughter was diagnosed with cancer, and that really catapulted what I felt was the divine message that I needed to move forward with this particular artist. Started CannaBreeze and some capital that. Right now we're in about 9 markets around the TMP. We've got our farm store, our tasting room up at the farm, we have tours, we have events, and the goal for us is to bring like-minded individuals together in a non-confrontational environment. Because me, knowing honestly nothing about cannabis, even as a kid, I just wasn't really interested. And then so coming into it from the medical side, and realizing how this particular plant has been suppressed for almost 100 years, and then getting into the pharmaceutical industry and how that's kind of taken over what we call health and wellness, and what they actually do. And we get roadblocks daily, weekly. Of course, Derek knows about how hard it is to get the cannabis message out, because CBD is cannabis. The definition of industrial hemp is cannabis with a THC level of 0.3% or less. But you would probably never hear that, but even the actual government definition is that cannabis is just a different strain that has cannabinoids that are non-psychoactive. And so that is a big stigma. Our logo is a big hurdle because unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize there was this big stigma about it. So we decided to turn CannaBreeze into a beef pending. It's been out of a cannabis leaf, and that has put up a million roadblocks. We can't even get into some stores unless we're required to remove this from all label. I could go on and on. Anyway, what you will learn today about CBD and hemp, the history of hemp, the 2018 Farm Bill, what is CBD, the endocannabinoid system, and the why and how of CBD. And probably what we'll spend most of the time on is types of CBD. And then what CBD is right for me, and of course we'll have time for questions. Do I click or just say next?
Who has a clicker?
History of hemp. I did just said hemp. Oh, you did. Is that here? History of hemp. So hemp industry began thousands of years ago. Virginia settlers were actually required to grow hemp back in the 1600s to be a part of the community. Prior to 1937, hemp was used for both industry and medicine. And a lot of the propaganda that took over the hemp, the demonization of the hemp plant occurred as plastics and timber and lumber industry were burgeoning during that industrial revolution. And hemp was basically the and big pharma had a role as well. The 1937 Marijuana Tax Act. really parched. I'm really nervous. How am I doing?
You're doing great.
Is everybody in their underwear, John?
It is hot in here.
That hemp and marijuana was banned in 1937, but actually stamps, and it was too expensive for farmers to grow. They had to pay these taxes just for the luxury of growing hemp. So it pretty much demolished the entire industry. Then the Controlled Substances Act, I think it was 1970 or 1972 is when they abolished the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 and rolled that entire legislation into the Controlled Substances Act. They didn't parse it out. They didn't take out hemp and leave cannabis, leave marijuana. They put the whole thing in there. With that, officially banned any hemp from being grown in the US. And the beginning was of the movement to get hemp back into mainstream farming was the 2014 Farm Bill, which allowed a lot of farms and industries to grow it experimentally. Next. So the 2018 Farm Bill, so that was signed in December of 2018, and it removed industrial hemp from the Controlled Substances Act. It gave a definition of what industrial hemp is as an official agricultural commodity, and that is cannabis with a THC level of 0.3% or less. Allows the cultivation of industrial hemp, including CBD and its derivatives. We'll talk a little bit about derivatives. And here's that definition. Industrial hemp is defined as cannabis that contains no more than 0.3% concentration on a dry weight basis of the psychoactive compound. Delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, is called THC. Just so you know, in that cannabis plant, they've discovered, I believe at last count, 127 different compounds or cannabinoids in the plant. And the majority of them are minor. There's minor representation in the plant, and the three largest would be, of course, Delta-9 THC. There's CBD, and then there's also CBG. Next. So what is CBD? CBD stands for cannabidiol. CBD is one of over 100 compounds called cannabinoids that are found in hemp. You'll notice I use hemp a lot versus the actual name of the plant, which is cannabis, because we just learn things that we cannot say and can't say at most venues that we talk. Both the CBD, Delta-9 THC, and CBG, which is cannabidiol, are considered major cannabinoids. And both CBD and CBG have no psycho effects on the human body. In other words, it can't get you high. I disagree with this a little bit, because if you ever start on a CBD regimen, there is a psychoactive effect. It's just a positive. It increases focus. It corrects a lot of those things that might be going on in your body. So there is a little bit of a head change, but according to the government, no psychoactive effects on the body. So it's not intoxicating. How about that? Non-intoxicating. CBD dominant strains produce low levels of THC, but not enough to get you high. I can't stress that enough. We just had a daughter and a mother come into the store on Saturday, first time, and the daughter was there to get to add CBD to her health and wellness regimen, and her mother, who clearly could benefit from what CBD could do for her, she sat through the whole. We do a lot of consulting at the store, and so she sat there and smiled and really listened intently about how this is going to help her daughter. And then when I turned to her and we both of us asked her, "How do you think this might help you?" And she said, "I'm not touching the stuff." So there is this long-term stigma about anything related to cannabis that most likely it'll take a generation to get beyond. CBD plays a major role in your endocannabinoid system. Anybody here heard of an endocannabinoid system? It's pretty amazing. I believe it was discovered in the late 80s or 90s, somewhere around there. That's part of your endocrine system. Next. So your endocannabinoid system, your ECS plays a vital role in your endocrine system. Your body actually produces what we know as endocannabinoids, which is part of your endocrine system. Plant-based cannabinoids, like cannabis, are known as phytocannabinoids. CB1, the endocrine system works in a very dynamic way. As you can see here, the endocannabinoid system really is that component that balances out your body. That's its primary objective. Through these receptors, we've got billions of them, is seeking out abnormal situations. We'll just call it that. And it's looking to correct deficiencies, whether it's, sleeping, insomnia, anxiety, knee pain, inflammation, joint pain, muscle pain. It literally has the ability to go around and seek these deficiencies out. And everyone is born with endocannabinoids. Over time, you lose them. I think I read it by the age of 5, you lost about 85% of them. I also read a study where there's cannabinoids in breast milk. That is another way to get those concentrated cannabinoids into your body. CB1 and CB2 ECS receptors regulate a multitude of systems to keep your body in balance, known as homeostasis. We talk about CBD, and if anybody here has ever gone on our YouTube channel, we have a series of videos talking about CBD being the great balancer. So we use that term a lot because there's also a misconception that CBD makes me tired. I mean, everyone's pretty much heard that, right? I don't want to fall asleep. I don't want to be tired, because a lot of people do use CBD as a way to help them get to sleep and stay asleep. As you get older, your body loses its ability to produce these compounds. Next. So now that we know a little bit about the endocannabinoid system, your body naturally produces these cannabinoids. ECS studies show a link between our physical, mental, and emotional health. Again, what is known as homeostasis. It looks for has anti-inflammatory responses, helps correct the immune system, or protect it in many cases. Anxiety levels, sleep schedule, appetite, mood. And there's a bunch of ways that that CBD and cannabis can help you in so many areas. It's kind of like a magic pill, and so a lot of times when we're going over this information, it's almost like there's this disbelief this one thing can do everything. And I think if you focus on the science behind its ability to make these things happen, it makes better sense. It really is not to make it higher or lower, but maybe a little higher or lower, closer to you, whatever your goal is, getting yourself back to it. Next. Types of CBD. So we know a CBD dominant strain is a strain of cannabis. It represents itself the same way that marijuana does. It has a vegetative state, and it has a flowering state. That's what the buds and the nutrients are going up into those buds and in a concentrated way. And then at the proper time, you harvest those buds, what we call flower. So smokable flower is still a very popular way to introduce cannabis, and CBD is no different. If I were to show you a handful of marijuana flower versus a handful of CBD flower versus a handful of CBG flower, because we grow CBG as well, until you smoked it, you really wouldn't know what was inside it. It really is the same. The presentation is the same. What's inside is a lot different, as far as the concentrations. Most popular is oils extracted from the biomass. So you could take the whole plant and you can put it under high pressure with a solvent, some kind of a liquid that would be able to have the ability to pull all of the compounds out of the plant material. And that's fats, waxes, lipids, terpenes, flavonoids, and of course the cannabinoids. So the cannabis oil, which is where you find the majority of the cannabinoids along with your dominant seed. There's different levels of this oil. You have full spectrum oil, which is the whole plant is represented. So that would be all of your cannabinoids, flavonoids, terpenes. A good quality oil would be you would want to remove some of those things that tend to clog up not only the oils, but also you're looking at putting it in different products, whether you're looking to vape it, you're going to want to pull out as much of the excess plant material and or fats and waxes from that, so you can have a nice pure broad spectrum distillate. A lot of products out there you'll see broad spectrum. Broad spectrum just means it's gone through one or two, usually two more processes to remove a lot of the impurities, primarily due to bad chemicals. So when this industry first came on the scene, everyone was growing hemp across the country, and lots of farmers went out of business because they didn't really know what to do with it. They didn't know how to grow it properly in order to create a quality product. And so you have all of this hemp on the scene. Hemp market dropped. In fact, it's still down. Hemp biomass farmers from the initial in 2020 to where you would say purchase a pound of biomass today is about 95%. So if farmers were to grow hemp, they would lose money. As the country is going through a lot of this, what I call below grade biomass, and of course, without regulation, we still got a lot of CBD from out of the country that ships here. In fact, I believe the last I read, even almost half of the CBD products on shelves are either came from outside the country or are synthetics. So then try to stay away from customers from finding what's called an isolate. Isolates go through another process, and the goal of an isolate is, of course, to isolate one compound. In this case, it would be CBD. We have learned that as each process you're putting that oil through, you're degrading even whatever's left over. You are degrading the value of the efficacy of CBD, because they're finding that cannabinoids work better together. They just work better together. So there is an importance to have all cannabinoids represented. And this is probably the struggle that we go through, because everyone wants THC free. And the reason they want it is because they haven't been educated about how this plant works in the human body. And that THC at that level does not get you high. And that's been our battle since we began. But full spectrum oil is always going to be the go-to for all products. And a quality full spectrum oil, you should be able to put that in any kind of a product that you want to use to get CBD. So CBD and weed. So we have this plant. We know that we can smoke it. We know that we can remove the oils from the plant, and we can use that oil in some fashion. So there's many ways at that point that you can put CBD or any kind of cannabis in a particular medium to introduce it into your body. So smoking or vaping is still quite popular. As you look at all these different ways, we're going to talk about bioavailability, how fast does it take before you're going to feel an impact, and then how long is that going to last. So smoking or vaping is still going to be the fastest, because the goal is to get this in your bloodstream. Topicals work great, but they're short term. They don't really offer a long-term benefit, meaning it's just something sustainable. They have the highest bioavailability, of course, because it's immediate in your bloodstream. And the downside to that is 90 to 120 minutes, and the primary benefit of those cannabinoids have disappeared, have been used up. Edibles, probably, well, not probably, the worst way to introduce any cannabinoid in your system. It takes from 30 up to 90 minutes. The first year had a THC gummy, honestly. What happened? You took the gummy and you're like, this stuff sucks.
Yeah, it's taking 2 hours.
Right? And so,
And then why did I take so many?
Then you take another one, because you
Well,
think the
that's
first one
lovely.
didn't work.
then you're all set. So you end up taking this gummy, expecting some kind of an impact. 30 to 45 minutes to an hour go by, nothing happens. I feel the same. What do?
Take
That
another
was
one.
a bad gummy, so I'm going to take another gummy. Right? So we have events at the farm, and one of the things that we start right off when the band starts playing is we understand and appreciate microdosing. We try to get an overview of onset, whether you're going to get a mocktail or you're going to get a gummy or you're going to smoke a doobie, because these things happen. And then they end up sitting in a corner because they didn't follow instructions. Yeah, so that's what happens. And then your experience is terrible. Like, this is terrible. So edibles, even from a health one, I believe health, wellness, and recreation. But even from a health and wellness perspective, if you are taking edibles, be aware that the onset is 30 to 90 minutes. It has poor bioavailability, primarily because you've already further degraded the CBD by even putting it in the gummy to begin with. And secondly, you've got to swallow it, your stomach has to digest it, and then it's got to be filtered through your liver. All these things further degrade the benefits of that particular product. The nice thing about edibles, if you get the right amount in, it has really good sustainability. It's really being released as it gets digested. Sublingual oils, our personal favorite on so many levels. First, the onset is 10 to 20 minutes. It has good bioavailability, especially if you properly use the sublingual oil under your tongue, hold it there for 2 minutes and swallow the rest. You're getting those cannabinoids right into your bloodstream. Not the majority of them, but a lot more than either smoking or edibles. Believe it or not, holding it in doesn't do anything for all you guys that want to hold it in, and ladies, because once your lungs accept that it's immediately saturated. So just blowing it out it's going to be the same effect. But from smoking, you're only getting maximum about whatever you bring in, you're getting about 20%. So sublingual oils, 48 hours sustainability. We love oils. We also love oils, which I never added to this slide, but I've always talked about the purity of the product. So if you've got a full spectrum oil that's already representing all the cannabinoids, all the terpenes, and you can be able to literally take it in its pure form, like we call this game, right out of the machine, then that's always going to be better than having to further processing, whatever that is, whether further processing edible or topical or even a water soluble. Well, that's a little bit different. We'll talk about that. So sublingual oils, it's the best way. A lot of people don't like the taste or don't want to like the taste of cannabis, and they don't like to put stuff under their tongue and walk around with it for a minute or two. So there are some inconveniences. I totally understand that, but it still is overall the best way to get cannabis into your system. Water soluble, very good way to introduce cannabis into your system. CBD. 5 to 15 minutes onset, high bioavailability because your stomach is thinks it's actually consuming water, which is usually generally absorbed right out of your stomach lining. And it has a 2 to 6 hour sustainability. So quick onset, high bioavailability, 2 to 6 hours sustainability. And the water soluble, probably the big thing to know about water soluble is what kind of oil was used in that process to make it water soluble. We all agree that oil and water don't mix, right? That was third grade science. So they had to somehow emulsify that oil so it will actually blend with a enzyme that can suspend itself in a liquid, right? So we use what's called ultrasonic nanoemulsification. So we take the oil and basically through a technique called cavitation, we pound that oil very fast, ultrasonic. And so the oil molecule is smaller than a water molecule, and we wrap that. The water molecule wraps itself around the oil, and then we use an enzyme called surfactant, which is food grade, digestible, FDA approved enzyme that just kind of seals those together. And we have products that you could put water soluble in, like this seltzer. That's a pineapple seltzer with 15 milligrams of CBD. Fully stable, it's suspended in water. If you drink it, you're going to have a little bit of a bite, but other than that, it's a beautiful taste. It's a great way to introduce CBD into your body using a water soluble product. Topicals, again, very quick onset, 5 to 10 minutes. Of course, can't be used for internal struggles like nerve pain, insomnia, anxiety, things like that, of course. But for all the joint pain and the muscle pain, lower back pain works great. 5 to 15 minutes onset, high bioavailability. Because it does happen quickly. There's very little barrier to get to the source. You now know that your CBD receptors understand what to look for and how to correct it. And the downside really is this, again, the sustainability. About 90 to 120 minutes. Most customers tell us it lasts about 2 hours. It also, of course, depends on like the amount of CBD that's in concentrate. This is our roll-on, the roll-on gel, probably our most popular topical because it's easy application. Just take the lid off and you're not getting messy. You don't have to rub anything in your hands, and you can put it right on the page. So localized effectiveness, but sustainability is short. And a lot of people, we start them off with an internal and an external, just to get them used to using the internal. The external helps for a while, and it helps, but after a while, they realize that they don't use it as often because hopefully they're taking the internal on a regular basis. So those cannabinoids are always floating around in the bloodstream. Next, I think that's it. Yes, that's it. Questions? I know we've talked. Can you go back to the prior slide? That's what we're probably going to spend a lot of. Questions?
Do you have a physical location or movement, or how do people reach out to you, or
So we have a farm store tasting room at Lovettsville at the farm. So that's number one. We're open Wednesday through Sunday, 11 to 5. We're in farmers markets all around the Beltway. I think every county is represented. Well, PG County's not, but we're in Tacoma Park, which is right on the border. So we're in all around on the weekends. Saturday and Sunday, you'll find us somewhere. Tacoma, Bethesda, Loudoun County, of course. Fairfax, Mosaic, Arlington, Ballston, Pass Street in DC, DuPont, DC. So they're all on the website and online. Yes.
How does all of this interact with clinical antidepressants?
I do not know, and I cannot speak to that. We always say recommend talking to your doctor. I can tell you what customers tell us. Customers tell us that if they're introducing CBD into their system, over time they automatically feel better because it doesn't have the side effects of some of the medication that they're currently taking. And then they find that they start to wean themselves off. I would always encourage to talk to your doctor and find out if this is a good course of action. The last thing we want to do is to remove something that is, should be there as far as medication. And we love when we hear that CBD is now replacing some of the pharmaceuticals that someone might be taking. But always talk to your doctor. And we have doctors that actually refer us customers all the time.
I would also recommend talking to your pharmacist too. They're usually a good resource.
All right, good.
Steph, that was just fun. I answered her question.
Is your name Brian?
My name's Chris.
Right.
Chris.
I remember I mentioned that.
Yes.
Is that you?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's me.
Great face rubbing. Got it.
Any other questions?
You recognize me, so.
Most facilities require a doctor's paper to get product. What you require to get product is your concern.
We require no documentation whatsoever. We are, everything that we produce is federally compliant. So you do not need like a card. And I'm all about all things cannabis. One thing that I will share with you is medical marijuana dispensaries, honestly, scientifically, look at very few ailments, generally serious stress disorders that are way beyond just CBD dominant plants, pain, and that stress disorder sleep.
How about depression? Have you had any results from people who come in that are depressed?
Oh yes.
What do you recommend for them?
I would, again, as we're learning more and more about CBD, really it's all about two things. One, how would you like to introduce it into your daily regimen? And number two, what is your dosage? So generally speaking, if you're at the store or you're at one of our markets, our guys are pretty knowledgeable about how to help you with dosing. But you would want to start to get your baseline. For example, our number one selling oil is our 900 lemon. 900 lemon, one dose is 15 milligrams. So 15 milligrams in the morning, 15 milligrams in the evening. So what we ask you to do is to find a starting point, take that for 2 days. If you're not feeling the impact that you're looking for, increase your dose. So take that from a half of the dropper full to a full drop to 30 milligrams. And if that is the impact that you're looking for, then when you come in for a new bottle, you can just upgrade to the 1800 and go back to your half a drop. The cool thing about CBD, and they've studied this over and over and over, you cannot overdose. You can only waste. It's a lot like taking vitamin C. Remember vitamin C? Take your 6,000 units or whatever, and only found out you only needed 300, what happens to the rest of that? It just goes out. So we don't want you to be wasting something that you really don't need. Everyone's level of cannabinoids, of endocannabinoids is different. Your certain internal circumstances are different. So we always recommend finding a starting point. First, find out how comfortable you are for in getting CBD into your system. That's number one. Whether it's whatever method it is, and then get on a regimen. This is our most popular, what we call a daytime corrector. These are 10 milligram CBD mints. They taste great. They're great. I have used them. My go-to in the afternoon is a can of seltzer around 2 o'clock. How many people just feel this around 2? Believe it or not, this doesn't make you tired. It actually brings you back into focus, brings you back into balance. And the mints do the same thing. I know we have customers that tell us that they take 2 when they get in their car to drive home because of. Yes.
Can you touch really quickly on the difference between the CBD and CBG?
Oh, sure. So CBD is the most popular and readily available cannabis product, CBD product, hemp product. But there's other major cannabinoids that they're just now studying. One of those, of course, is CBG. Why? Every cannabis seed is 100% CBG. Out of that plant, as it's germinated, propagating, as it gets older and matures, that is when the cannabinoids start representing themselves. So you could walk into any germination room, even if it was a weed farm, for example, and you could take a cutting and have it sampled, and it is going to be better with the plant. It just is, until that plant gets into that flowering stage and the latter half of its age, of its time prior to harvest, before the major cannabinoids are going to be represented. So CBD, Delta-9 THC, and CBG are the major cannabinoids. What they have found is that CBG has very high anti-inflammatory benefits. That's its primary benefit in the human body, where CBD really is that homeostasis, right? It does a little bit of everything. CBG has it appears that its primary focus is just inflammation. And they're finding another cannabinoid, which right now is a minor cannabinoid. I don't believe there are many strains that you can grow in a dominant way. And that's CBN. CBN is also, there's some studies coming out that has higher sleep benefits, falling asleep and staying asleep than just CBD on its own. So we have a lot of products now where we combine CBD and CBG, especially in that neurological pain, chronic pains, or like diabetic neuropathies, chronic back pain. People that have been in accidents and been dealing with this chronic pain their whole life.
Would the topicals tend to be higher CBG then, because you're having an anti-inflammatory, low class anti-inflammatory effect?
Well, I don't know if it would work any better or worse. So a topical with CBG in it, for sure. Yes, especially for the joint pain. And again, if that is working for you, I would always recommend that two-pronged approach, getting it in your bloodstream as well. And CBG, we do have some sublingual products that also include CBG. In fact, our fitness recovery oil is now surpassing as the single most beneficial oil that we offer. And that has a combination of CBD and CBG.
And that's sublingual?
Yes, sublingual. I also, are there any other questions? Yes.
Are you aware of anybody using it successfully with alcoholism or withdrawals?
Not specifically with alcoholism, but there is a growing trend of young people that do not are moving away. I don't know if you guys have noticed the trend. It's no longer, it's the seltzers. I mean, they won't even drink beer anymore. And now they're actually coming up to us and they're saying, you know, I'm tired of the way I feel from drinking alcohol. What do you have? And our CBD seltzers, and we have THC seltzers as well, have grown in popularity. There's no hangover, and it's actually good for you. And it really gets you into that, you know, if someone's looking for that Zen moment or that moment of focus, CBD does have that ability. I want to touch on one more thing about CBD and its derivatives. Derivatives from CBD, you might have heard out there, would be things like Delta 8, THCV, THCO, I think there's a Delta 10. These are all derivatives, are supposed to be derivatives from CBD through another chemical process that you can actually convert CBD into other cannabinoids. So if you've seen a lot of that on the street, how can that be legal? That's why. We always say beware because you don't know how that's processed. Generally, the cheapest way to get Delta 8 is using sulfuric acid and CBD oil. That wasn't purified correctly. USDA refuses once again oversight on CBD. And also the new laws that just passed ban all of those products come July 1st. So
Delta 8 products.
all THC will be banned from legal sale outside of a medical dispensary. So you can still get the real stuff at a dispensary. In Virginia, you just can't get all the other stuff that you find at the tobacco shop. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jeff.
Was one of our raffle winners last month. You wanted so many of these up the raffle in a
Yes.
minute. If you've not already put your business card in here, I'm going to pass it around one more time and please put your business card in. And we will be using that to choose who gets one of the raffle prizes today. I don't have a spotlight schedule today, but
Such a tough audience.
Andy and I have some next year with the LSIN event coming up.
That's a bad
But I can't go with.
If you were in a senior community assisted or independent about 3 months ago, Andy and I went door to door talking about an event that LSIN will be sponsoring in September. We got an update.
Yes. So we've been